Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Stroll and Chat here at the Sea of Galilee. And there goes Father Alonso again, 82 years of age, going for full immersion into prayer. He's always doing that. He's always there. When he's not doing a Spanish paella or a Spanish tortilla. Those are his specialties in the kitchen. And everybody celebrates them. It's great to see somebody arriving at that age, so kind, so patient, so humor-filled, so conversant, uplifting, upbeat. Oh, some little detail I noticed yesterday when I was sitting down at lunchtime over at our little table there. We eat outside normally because the temperatures allow that. If you look here at the foothills of Mount Arbel, what do you notice? Do you notice how green it is? And we had our first serious rain about a week ago. Now if you go there closely, there's not that much grass, to be very frank. And there's more there than there will be a bit up higher, but it's just, we're seeing it from the right angle, so it gets the maximum green effect on the side of that sloping piece of land there. But it's green. It's green, it's green, it's green. That's the first growth after the first winter rains, which we had over a week ago, and then we had that amazing amount of rain the day before yesterday. And yesterday morning the sea was the Sea of Galilee, Lake Gennesareth, was a little bit turbulent, not as much as it became. Yesterday it became so wild. I did a couple little video shots of it, but I don't want to overburden the posts here on Facebook. Look at even the little grass here. You can see how it's thin. Not sure if it's grass, but it's there. And if you look at it from the side, then it looks like it's all totally green, you know. A little water does a lot for life. Wow, look at all this mess here. Look at this. All these reeds have been uprooted. That's how bad the storm was yesterday, how wild. See all this debris? Look at that, a whole barrier, like a reef. And this was all smooth, like a nice surface there. Did you notice the birds? Well, maybe you didn't see them. So this was all just little like beach places. Now it's a big mess that needs to be cleaned up. Look at all the broken reeds. Wow, look at the way this opened up. I haven't seen this like this for a long time. Look at the way this opened up here. You remember the places right out there in the center where the cranes would land, so they'll have to find a new landing spot. It's amazing, and there was hardly any wind, but it was constant, and the waves were so violent, really, would be the word. Powerful, crashing. If there was something to crash on, they were crashing. That's amazing. Look at all these have been uprooted completely. Look at that. See that whole area there where Soter is? It's amazing. I am surprised. I didn't realize this. It might be possible now to swim out here again, because it was very difficult with all the broken reeds under the water, and they were kind of sharp and solid. You have to explore this possibility. So here we have this beautiful morning scene. You can see the sun reflecting on the windows in Tiberias. I don't know if you can notice that in the center of the screen there. Welcome everybody to Sunrise Stroll and Chat. It's just a lovely morning here in Galilee. I can even see as far as Mount Hermon. Yesterday that was not possible, but the weather has cleared up. Let me try to show you. You won't see too much of it, but hopefully we'll see a little of it. And just to get our bearings, the first spot I will show you is the Mount of Beatitudes, which is that strip over here on the left of the screen towards the top with all the plastic covering of the banana plantations. Now if we wheel a little to the left in the very center of the screen, and I'll put it more exactly so, I actually see Mount Tabor in the screen, or Mount Hermon myself. You see this? We have this ridge here with all these little shrubs or bushes. Now if you look up at the very top, just beyond the horizon of that hill, you can see another, well, I have it maximum zoom now. So you can see a little gray piece that's protruding over the ridge that you're looking at, and that's Mount Hermon, or part of it. So it's a clear morning. Oh, by the way, in case I forget to mention it, if you want to be on your alert tomorrow morning, there might be a change of schedule, a more significant change. Because I won't say anything more because I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I might be able to go to a different place, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to start at 6 o'clock. I will obviously let the WhatsApp group know how that's going to emerge, but there could be some nice surprise. So don't count on 100%, but don't be surprised if it happens, okay? So I want to do something else actually this morning with you, just to go for a little bit of a walk here. You know, if somebody comes today for the first time and just sees this here, they'll say, okay, it was always like this. But it wasn't. All of this area here was completely like this stretch here, just right here in front is where all the broken reeds are, and out in the clear piece of water, and you can see the reeds further out. This was all full covered reeds. In fact, the whole thing was, because I used to wind down through a little path where the light is hitting the water here towards the end of the reeds. I had to walk way out there. In fact, you can see reeds further out, and that's where the water was 2 years ago, out there. And I would have to get out beyond where those reeds are to get water to be able to swim. The water just came to about there, and then you had to go out so long because the floor of the lake at that point is very flat. It's hard to get depth when the water is so low. So all of this was covered in reeds. And if I said to you, well, like there was a big change here, well, you wouldn't know. But if you had seen this, then you could realize. And this is one of my famous little proverbial lines here. And it's not mine. I'm not the author of it by any means. We're the author of very little, actually, because so much is done for us before and we receive so much. But text out of context is really misunderstood so many times. Text requires context, and written text requires also the social context in which it was written and the history of the people who wrote it. You know, you see in two different occasions, two very angry people, and you could, you know, paint them with the same brush, but there might be two very different situations. One of them might be unbalanced in reactions, and the other one may have very powerful cause to express great displeasure and inconformity and demanding corrections of another situation. So it's important when we're reading the biblical text to understand that there's a lot of context. And if we don't keep the context in mind, and we really don't know all the context because we weren't there, then we have to be patient, and instead of rebelling and getting angry and upset, we have to try and see, okay, how was the context? How did a statement like that get made? How are we to understand it? Now, was that window golden, or is it black, or is it half and half? So again, it depends on where you're standing to make a good evaluation. So there are a lot of factors that affect our understanding of things. And we need to, that's why it's good to have meetings with people. It's good to have people you talk to, because you have your understanding and then somebody else has a different angle on things and a different person experience and understand it differently. Here's a little flower for you. In fact, the whole thing was created for you. That's why God created the world, for us. There are a lot of those over there, but I'm not going over there. I'm not sure how that would hold up. In fact, I just realized something else, because there's no traffic here. We used to be able to walk through there, and this thing has all grown up here in a very short time. Because with the water up, nobody walks through. And then look at these vines, the way they're growing here. So they want to take over the whole place. Wow. Wow, it's interesting. That little purplish flower there, pink, purple, or whatever, belongs to that vine. So these vines are pretty aggressive. So these are our neighbours here that have all the boats. It's like a dry dock. Now we have a different sound here. Maybe this angle over here will be better for you. Or maybe I will go over here for a little bit more visible sun. Soldier is always about 5 times faster than me in the land and in the water. Let's go down here. And we can see all this stuff that the waves crashed in. All these broken reeds. So this is an interesting letter to Titus, who was like the equivalent of a bishop, and Paul is writing to him. He was one of Paul's closest disciples and collaborators in a permanent way. And Paul is writing, giving him instructions of how to help the community mature and develop. And he's given him, for different categories of people, he's given him very concrete instructions. Namely, that older men should be temperate. That's nice. Just after commenting there about Father Alonso. Should be dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, love and endurance. And then there are instructions for women. Older women should be reverent in their behavior, not slanderers nor addicted to drink either, temperate, teaching what is good, so that they may train younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, chaste, good homemakers. And now there's a phrase here that could get some people very upset, and it says, under the control of their husbands. And then it says, so that the word of God may not be discredited. Now obviously that's the line that prompted me to give you the whole background on text and context. So I wouldn't say that Paul would write that today in our environment in this way. Because he also has other texts which says a man should love his wife as his own very self, and a wife should love her husband. So that's also a part of the context. It's a different letter to the Ephesians, but we have this broad cultural background as well. You have some faith communities which say, thank God you didn't make me a woman, that you made me a man. So in environments like that, to see the expressions of St. Paul, it's a gradual process of transformation. Now, many times, obviously, we can be slow transforming. And before we condemn others for transforming slowly, we could also put it in the context of our own personal experience. For example, we know very well that it's not even physically healthy to hold grudges. Right? It's not even physically healthy to hold grudges. It's bad for us. And yet, we can even be told by a close friend, you should drop that grudge to whoever. It could be your spouse, it could be a child, it could be a neighbor, it could be a sibling, it could be a parent. And yet how hard it is for us to accomplish that transformation. How hard it is for us to change our attitude. Sometimes it takes years. Just imagine to overcome a problem with alcohol and problems with any behavior. Would you like to walk out here? There's a fisherman actually down the line here and he has 3 rods up. This is a little wavy and bumpy, okay? If I set it down, you can feel it more directly because I'm cushioning it by holding the tripod. So here you can feel it now. So this movement is because of the whole thing moving. Wow, it can be a little bit more. Like that's not me now, that's because of the waves, okay? If you want to feel the waves. If you don't like this, tell me and I'll get off. And what I can do is I can lift it up and then I will absorb most of that rocking effect. Like a rocking chair. Usually you'd like to control the rocking chair, wouldn't you? You wouldn't like somebody to rock it out of discomfort. So there's great wisdom in these texts, and even when there are some points that are very difficult in our mindset today. We see many things in the Hebrew scriptures which we take as God's word, and we would definitely not say them today about destroying our enemies, because the gospel leaven has leavened us through a little bit more, and we would say I would prefer the transformation of our enemies. And it took us a long time to learn that, and we're still learning it in our society, from Calvary. Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. And then the centurion says, truly, this was the Son of God. Look at this. This whole walkway was actually out where the light is, not that far out, but almost in a straight line. And this is what the wind did to it yesterday. It forced it in here against the reeds, and then it plowed up all these reeds here. This was all thick growth. And we can't do that kind of transformation to people. We can't force them with a huge storm, with a violent action. And Jesus is very patient with us. He was very patient with the disciples. Just step by step, he was letting that leaven work through the whole dough. And our society is a tough piece of dough, and we need great patience, but also great persistence, kind persistence, wise persistence, as we work to transform society, and realizing that the main agent is God's grace. So we don't give up. Just think of a child. So the child has 2 or 3 problems. A couple of them are very serious. But you get the child working on one subject in school that they like, and they're getting better grades, and you start praising and building that. Then what happens? Well, there's an openness of heart, and maybe there's growth in other areas, in other behaviors. It's a process. How patient God is with all of us. Beloved, you must say what is consistent with sound doctrine. And then he goes on in his sound doctrine to give these instructions about behavior for different folks. Wouldn't that be a great way for us to live as well? To base our thoughts on sound doctrine, sound teaching. Sound in faith, sound in love, sound in endurance. Hey, do you guys like this rocking chair? Like you're going in perfect motion, in perfect sync with the waves right now. There we got this fisherman. I want to respect his identity, so I'm not going to push closer right now. When I finish, I'll probably go over and just say hello to him and see what's going on. And there's a beautiful line here towards the end of this text. For the grace of God has appeared. And that expression happens a bunch of times. And it's referring particularly to the incarnation, that God has become incarnate. And the grace of God has appeared. Is visible, tangible. Saving all and training us to reject godless ways and worldly desires. And then living in that great tension, waiting for the blessed hope, the appearance of the glory of the great God, of our Savior Jesus Christ, who gave himself up for us, to deliver us from all lawlessness, and to cleanse for himself a people as his own, eager to do what is good. How much our world needs this today. And we have this beautiful Psalm 37. The salvation of the just comes from the Lord. Trust in the Lord and do good, that you may dwell in the land and be fed in security. Take delight in the Lord, and he will grant you your heart's requests. The gospel reading is also requires its context, and it's not just from 2,000 years ago, it's more recently. The discovery of human dignity, which is in the first pages of Genesis, but the continual discovery by each of us and by our societies is a process. And then one thing is to discover it, and another thing is to adapt to its demands, that each person is an image of God, complete human dignity for each person. It's getting rocky, people. Hope you're okay. So people, we will say goodbye. God bless you. Thank you for joining this morning in this beautiful location. It's funny, isn't it, how it's getting wilder at some moments and there's no change in the breeze. It's interesting. Well, God bless you all, people. See you later.